Energy advocates have criticized the pronouncements of President Bongbong Marcos on the country's energy plans, as well as the participation of the Philippine delegation to the COP27 Climate Summit. At the APEC CEO Summit in Thailand, Marcos Jr. reiterated the government's target of increasing the share of renewable energy in the power generation mix to 35% by 2030 and to 50% by 2040. But for think tank Climate Analytics, in order for the Philippines to reach its goal of keeping global temperature rise to no more than or not more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, it must raise the share of renewables in the power mix to 80 to 83% by 2030 toward a full transition by 2040. The Power for People Coalition, meanwhile, criticized the Philippine delegation at COP27 Climate Summit in Egypt over its supposed silence on the urgency of an energy transition.
Here to give us their thoughts on President Marcos' recent pronouncements during the 29th APEC Summit, we have with us live via Zoom Aksyon Klima Philippines convenor Rodne Galicha. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, sir.
Hi, good evening and good afternoon here from Egypt, Robbie and Marcel. And we're excited to share some updates coming directly from COP27 here at Sharm el-Sheikh.
Okay, magandang araw po sa inyo. Sabi po ni President Marcos, 35% renewable energy by 2030, 50% by 2040. Not enough? What do you think?
It's not enough, actually, because we have so many indigenous sources of renewable energy. And as we all know, the government calls also for a transition, and they thought that transition energy would be natural gas or fossil gas. And we hope that if it is indeed, we need to have some definite timelines, because we cannot wait for a drastic transition to 100% renewable energy. We all know as well that there is a pending proposal to develop more wind energy, and that is offshore wind energy. And we hope that it will be factored in the mix of our energy sources.
Sir, what do you think of the statement of President Bongbong Marcos calling out global leaders to act on climate change?
Of course, every leader in the world is calling for action on climate change. The biggest challenge, however, is that there are many developed nations hindering genuine climate actions. Climate action is not only limited to mitigation, which is the reduction or removal or avoidance of greenhouse gases. It is also actually talking about adaptation and finance and technology transfer. Right now here at COP27, there is this a group negotiating bloc we call G77 plus China, which is actually proposing funding for loss and damages. So as I have said, it's not only about mitigation, adaptation, among others. It's also asking larger nations, developed nations, to pay up for the damages and losses that the climate crisis brought. Many damages that the climate impacts. It exacerbated actually the massive destruction of our lives and livelihoods in the country. So the call is actually, on top of the reduction, avoidance, and reduction, is the loss and damage finance facility. And it has been proposed, actually, and we are still hoping that it will be decided upon by the plenary as of now. On top of that, there's also what we call the Santiago Network. Santiago Network for loss and damage is actually, it was established to network and to connect developing vulnerable countries or nations like the Philippines with those who provide technical assistance, knowledge, and resources. But the function is still to be operationalized right now. And we hope that it will be, again, decided upon by the plenary led by the presidency of Egypt here. And this is crunch time already here at COP27. This is the last day, actually, of the conference of parties. And we hope that loss and damage will actually be on the table, on the agenda, the facility, and even the operationalization of the fund.
And as you mentioned, you are in Egypt for COP27. How is our Philippine delegation positioning, and how do you appreciate, if at all, the positioning and the statements of the Philippine delegation in Egypt?
The Philippine delegation actually is doing its best, and it's championing loss and damage facility and even finance facility, and even calling for the establishment of fund. The Philippine delegation is always aligned with the positions of the G77 plus China. And as I have said, the Philippines is also championing to put and to actually operationalize in some ways or the other emissions avoidance. But we need to actually understand more about this text, about this context or concept that has been included in the text. Again, as I have said, loss and damage is part and parcel of the position of the Philippines, and it is very, very aligned to the position of the most vulnerable, specifically of the developing countries.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Aksyon Klima Philippines convenor Rodne Galicha.